Well, I dig Netflix. Like, I watch a lot of Netflix. And not yet, Brandon, hang on.
And chill. Sorry.
And I watched a special about Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. It was just this historical retrospect on them. And it was interesting because I actually learned some things. It's funny because, you hear the names and they're famous outlaws.
Right? That's a movie.
Yeah, no. Are you kidding?
No? Okay.
Yes, it was a movie about Western outlaws.
All right. Okay.
No, they were real
I
Western.
thought they were fictional characters, maybe.
No, they're real people.
Paul Newman and wait.
No, they weren't gunned down. That was one of the things I learned was interesting about it.
In the movie, they were. Spoiler.
Yeah. Well, it's an old film, so hopefully,
Yeah.
There's got to be a time limit on spoilers. Right? I mean, but anyway. In this documentary, there were a lot of things I didn't know. It's like I knew they were outlaws, I knew train robberies and things like that, but I really didn't understand like what happened later in life with them. And apparently they moved to, I guess, Argentina and spent some time in other countries like neighboring Argentinian countries. And one of the things that happened was they were finally cornered and they had a shootout with lawmen or townspeople, and it was like this big, long, all-night ugly thing. And then in the morning, when there was no activity, they went into the cabin or the house where they were holed up, and it turned out that it appeared that they had killed themselves. So in the end, they buried them in unmarked graves. And they said that almost immediately there began to be reports that they weren't killed and that they were still free and running around, and that Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid were still alive and well and kicking, and that it was not true that they had been killed. And I thought, how interesting is this that people talk about, you couldn't ever get these myths that would grow out of something so fast, that when you have an issue like with Jesus and the resurrection, and they were like, the idea that, these myths would grow out of just, 40, 50, 60 years, and that's not something that could happen. And I'm like, yeah, it can happen. And, it happened with these two, and somebody else was like, yeah, look at all the Elvis reports that we get, right? Like people that have seen Elvis. But it was specifically interesting to me that they said it was almost immediately that people began to question whether or not they had actually been killed and to actually claim that they were still alive.
Of course, people always do that when someone gets killed, right? I mean, Elvis.
Well, that's what I say. There are some Elvis reports and things like that, but. It was an interesting thing that even though they had been hunted down and killed and there were tons of witnesses to the death, there were still people who said that they hadn't been killed. And that this myth.
Was there evidence one way or the other?
Well, they were buried in unmarked graves, so no.
Okay.
They couldn't prove it, but in that in that case, I'm not sure that anybody would have cared. It was like it was publicly recorded, and that's all that mattered.
Right. Yeah. People want life to be like a George R.R. Martin novel. If you don't definitely see the body, then
and that was the other thing, I guess, is that the people that would have been involved in law enforcement as far as going and getting them and killing them weren't really even interested enough to even try and allay those stories. You know what I mean? There was nobody went and said, well, let's go dig them up where we buried them and show the bodies, and which is kind of interesting to me because sometimes they did take pictures of outlaws that they killed. So there were other people that they have photos of, their dead bodies and things like that after they were shot dead. So I don't know, but just kind of fun the way that, people don't always want to accept the reality of something like that when it occurs.
Yeah. I don't know. You can't know for sure, I guess, but this isn't... I don't know. To me, the alive or dead status of a particular pair of outlaws doesn't seem important enough to warrant.
Well, especially with these
knowing the
people,
answer for sure.
Yeah, this particular pair, I guess they had quite the reputation. People were kind of supportive of them stateside. Like people liked them, actually.
people thought Andy Kaufman was alive. Like a few years ago was supposed to be the anniversary of like supposedly the day that he somehow predicted that he would show up again. Have you seen the Jim Carrey biopic,
I haven't.
Man on the Moon?
I haven't.
It's pretty funny. He was a funny guy.
Yeah.
He liked to prank people. But there was some kind of conspiracy going around that was like bolstered by his best friend saying, "Oh, I don't think I don't think my friend's really dead. I think he's been trolling this all the time."
Well, he did do a lot of kind of surprise fake things when he was, it was part of his humor.
Trolling people was
the wrestling thing was always a big,
that was the thing his comedy was all about.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say by now that the moment of the optimal joke has already passed.
Yeah, but it's just the other thing though. Like when you talk about Elvis, it's like it's really funny that you get sightings. People that actually report sightings, and that's kind of funny too.
Well, I mean, and I think I can tie this into a theme of the show, which is that people refer to something as skepticism, which is really just random refusal to believe a particular thing. And actual skepticism is based on, general evidence of, I mean, how can I tie this in properly? Help me out here.
My whole thing is just how myths, propagate, and people, it's not hard to find people that'll say, no, and I saw him.
Right.
And it's like, no, you didn't.
Easy to get that to happen.
He's dead. But,
okay, we've wasted the world right now.
Well, Westboro Baptist Church has decided to picket Kim Davis.
What? Why would they do that?
Because they believe that she's being hypocritical, that basically her own marriage after the divorces is not biblical, and that she's taking advantage of the fact that it's legal to do it and to pursue it even though it's not biblical, and at the same time trying to deny people a legal right to pursue what she considers to be unbiblical marriages.
Anytime the Westboro people come on, show up in the news, I have the same question, which is, are they just trying to get a rise out of people, or do they really believe that? Like, are they trying to outlaw divorce, or?
No, it's not about what they're saying. Yeah. They actually take a stand that you need to obey the laws, and that if it's legal, she should do it. And so what they're saying is, if she wants to take advantage of those laws to have an unbiblical marriage and say that she doesn't have to follow the Bible as a Christian, she can go forward and pursue this type of a marriage that she has, because even though it's unscriptural but it's legal, You're
telling me that the Westboro Baptist Church is for Kim Davis granting gay marriage?
Yes.
No way.
Way.
Okay.
They're actually saying that because that's the law. And don't get me wrong, they'll be the first ones to start picketing the laws about gay marriage. But at the same time, what they're saying is that as an officer of the court, you have to follow the law and grant these, and you're being a hypocrite to take advantage of the fact that it's legal but non-scriptural and do it yourself, and then tell somebody else that they can't.
Do you have a quote from them saying this?
I've got this article.
I'm sorry to be skeptical.
No, it's fine. Here we go.
Yeah.
Let me find the article. And this was I guess this is on Pathos is where we're looking at this.
Uh-huh.
Let me see. No, and it was, this is from an article. I can't blow it up, but I can read the tiny text.
Enhance.
I don't know how, but I did read it, which was painful because it is little, but it's like a little newspaper clipping. And it says...
why don't we try to pull that up like while we're on with the next caller?
Okay, then, I've got it. I mean, I can... But it's just like, they say, let's see, God Almighty put a spotlight... I guess this is a news release from Westboro. Uh-huh. God Almighty put a spotlight upon the proud, self-righteous hypocrites that think the same-sex marriage sin is worse than their adultery sin. As it happened, the Supreme Court of the United States, fulfilling their destiny, made same-sex marriage the law of the land. The duty of all mankind is to obey the laws of God and the laws of man. Enter Kim Davis.
Okay.
Rowan.
I got it.
Okay.
This is definitely not The Onion or anything like that.
Well, they've got God hates adultery. Let's see. They're saying it's the release, I guess. Westboro Baptist Chronicles or whatever.
That is really fast. Someday, I swear,
Catholic
we're gonna have
hospital.
a box that we can just hit.
Catholic hospital denies Michigan woman treatment on religious grounds, right?
Oh, no.
So she has an issue where it's dangerous for her to get pregnant again, and she wanted to it was recommended to her, medically recommended, that she be sterilized so that she not have another pregnancy because it's dangerous, like medically dangerous for her. She has other children, and the Catholic hospital said, no, we don't do that. So they're willing to, on religious grounds, deny her medical care that keeps her from being at mortal risk while she already has children at home who need her.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's a nice Christian value.
that's pretty crappy.
Let 3 children grow up without a mother because we don't want to sterilize this woman who should not get pregnant again according to doctors.
That's terrible.
Yeah, nice Catholic hospital.